Hey, what's up? I'm Citrine, and I love The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild more than any other game this console generation, but it isn't perfect, and I'm kind of tired of people acting like it is. Tweet. The Nintendo Switch, Nintendo's newest home console slash handheld hybrid. I have one, and it's pretty cool. I love that I can literally take it anywhere with me. I actually have a pretty funny story about how I was able to get one on launch day, but that's a story for another video. The Switch only had 10 launch titles, at least in North America anyway, and only 5 of them were retail games. Of those 5, Breath of the Wild was the one that received all of the hype in my memory. Except for that joke of a game 1-2 Switch, I didn't know the others existed before recording this video. I was so excited I couldn't have cared less. The only thing that mattered was that I could play the game on a shiny new console. The first time I played it, I was on cloud 9. It had everything I could ever ask of a Zelda game, and nobody could tell me otherwise. It was perfect, Nintendo was perfect, praise Miyamoto. I took my Switch everywhere with me and lived in a Zelda-induced euphoria. A few weeks into it, a friend of mine who also had a Switch and the game expressed his feeling that, well, great, the game wasn't perfect. When he said this to me, I was like, dude, no, what the heck, you only play JRPGs anyway, you weeb, what do you know? And, I mean, obviously I was right, because how could the game not be perfect, right? The hype cloud hits me often, okay? And when it does, I can see no wrong with whatever it is I'm hyped about. The next time I would see the game would be when my sister Tangle finally got the chance to play it a few months later. The game still looked beautiful, and it seemed like she was having fun, perhaps too much fun, but I began to see the imperfections in the game, like pulling a shirt apart by the seams. By this point, I had to acknowledge that it wasn't perfect, but until she finished the game, I didn't have any solid opinions about why some parts of the game were bad. But now I do, so let's talk about them. The Zelda series, with special mention to Majora's Mask, has a massive cast of fun and interesting characters. Ocarina of Time had characters like Mido, Darunia, and the Great Deku Tree, and I know the Deku Tree is also in Breath of the Wild, but that's different. Majora's Mask had Skull Kid, Tattle and Tail, and the Happy Mask Salesman. Even Skyward Sword, a game that seems to have a love it or hate it reputation among fans, had awesome characters. Girahim, this game's version of Zelda and Link, Groose, and Fi are honestly some of my favorite characters in the series. But there's a difference between all the characters I just mentioned and the main characters in Breath of the Wild. The difference is that all the characters I listed off were dynamic characters who changed in some way over the course of the game. The champions of Hyrule in particular are all static characters. I think the reason for that is because they're all dead already at the beginning of the game and don't have anywhere for their characters to go, but that isn't an excuse to have them be boring as sandpaper. Mipha, Urbosa, and Daruk don't change at all. Revali changes only very slightly, going from having a strong resentment for Link to a begrudging respect for him. But because he's dead, we only see that in the cutscene after Link frees his divine beast, and you don't interact with him directly ever again after that. So you don't get to see this change in action. They don't give you many reasons to care about the champions at all, really. In fact, I actually like all of the champions. But the reasons why I like them have almost nothing to do with their actual personalities. I like Urbosa because she's kind of motherly towards Zelda and the memories. I like Daruk because I like Gorons. I like Revali because he's damn good looking for a bird, okay? Look at the way he's holding the bow in this picture. Look at his pose. Look at his eyes. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'll be honest, I don't actually like Mipha at all. I hate characters with that I just need to tell him how I feel personality. After the first 5 minutes of the Zora's Domain quest, I was done with her, and she doesn't really have any other cool things about her. I'm also really not a fan of the female Zora, so she doesn't even have that going for her. So the champions kind of suck, but what about their descendants? I had to look up their names again for this video because I don't care about any of them except for Sidon, and I think I like his design better than his character. Riju seems like she could have been a good character, but we don't see enough of her to find out. Teba is almost as good looking as Revali, but we don't learn a damn thing about him, and Yunobo is a coward who remains a coward even after his Divine Beast quest. Honestly, these characters are just weak compared to previous games, and are probably the worst part of the story overall. So originally, I was gonna have a big paragraph about how and why the shrines are bad, but while I was live streaming a few days ago, one of my moderators sent me a video where a guy called Joseph Anderson breaks down why the shrines are the worst thing in the whole game, down to individual shrines. I can't top that in terms of being thorough, so I'll have a card up on screen or put a link in the description so you can watch that if you're interested, but I still feel like I should say something about this. In short, the shrines are really inconsistent in difficulty, and some of them aren't even puzzles. Some are as simple as using a single rune, like the tutorial shrines, and others feel like entire mini-dungeons. Then you have the garbage motion control shrines that are literally like those tiny metal ball mazes that you get at like McDonald's or something. I could complain about this, but I think Mr. Anderson already beat me to it. Nah. I hate these. The divine beasts are too large to be shrines, but too small to be real dungeons, and they suck. It's obvious that these are supposed to be the dungeons or temples in this game, a la Ocarina of Time, but they don't fill that role at all. All the beasts have some little gimmick that involves moving or rotating different parts of the animal to climb to different places or access new parts of the beast. This is an interesting concept, but all the beasts use this same puzzle, making it monotonous, and the beasts are too small to be called dungeons, leaving no time to develop the idea. I also have a small problem with the map. I think the idea of a 3D rotatable map for these beasts is a cool idea, but they're just a little too transparent for me, and I often have trouble figuring out exactly where I am. The bosses are also easy enough to be laughable. All the dungeon bosses besides Thunderblight Ganon had me yawning. Even though I didn't really like the Divine Beasts, the abilities they give you are not the best either. Some of the abilities are just overall better than others. I never used Urbosa's Fury ever once after I got it. Rivali's Gale? Trash, except for certain circumstances. Mipha's Grace and Daruk's Protection are much better for practical reasons, but I'm gonna say Daruk's power is better because you have to die for Mipha's to take effect. Plus, 3 free hits without taking damage is awesome. So Breath of the Wild isn't perfect at all in the grand scheme of Zelda games, not even close. Even though I'm saying that, it is my second favorite game in the series, only behind Skyward Sword. It does well with its non-puzzly elements, and the survival aspects like exploring the land and crafting your own healing items and potions are basically flawless. The world is awesome, and I think the game was well worth the development time and the delays. But I can't let them get away with what they did wrong or they'll keep doing it, and we cannot have more of the same in this industry. Also, one more thing before I end off this video. Why in God's name does this game have DLC? I'm getting really tired of games that have no business charging extra for things that should be in the base game to begin holding their hands out like tax collectors going, oh, you want a bit more? Give us some money and you can have that level. Give us some money and you can have that costume. Give us some money and you can play your own games and online multiplayer. Give us some money and you can have the second half of the story. Breath of the Wild is an open world RPG. Please give me one reason why I need to buy a season pass to access Master Mode. I have to pay you $20 to make the game harder? Stop doing this. If you're a game developer, don't do this. I don't like giving numerical scores to games that I only pseudo-review, but you would lose some serious points for this if I did. The music in this game is so fire, though. I can't even stay mad. That's it for this video. Before I go, I want to give a special thanks to my Twitch moderator, Alias112, for showing me that video about the shrines, and to my sister Tangle for doing all the art for Citrine the Sloth, and for helping me sing both the Wii Sports theme and Ballad of the Goddess at 3 AM, which you're hearing now. If you agreed or disagreed with anything I said, leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.